Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks Podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. Now, this is beginning to think that this is darn near just a college football show, but honestly, I love college football. It is what it is. So there's going to be football. There's going to be a lot of college football. There's going to be some pro. We're going to throw in some general sports takes and that type of thing. But truth is, I love college football. It's probably going to be a lot of this show for those people who are not really into college football. What's wrong with you? I don't know what to tell you. It's been taking a long time coming for me to just admit to my problem, just being addicted to that particular style of football. So the thing I wanted to focus on today was Texas A&M's head coach, Jimbo Fisher. Now, Jimbo Fisher has won a national championship with Florida State, but those days are long gone. And now he has been at Texas A&M for 5 years. And in that 5 years, he has gone 9-4, 8-5, 9-1 during the COVID year, 8-4, and 9-7. So last year the wheels just fell off, brakes beaten, just not a good look for anybody involved. And so he's averaging about 4 losses a year for a guy who's getting paid a lot of money for in a premier conference in a state that produces a lot of great high school talent. It's definitely not a good look. So some of the reasons why I believe he's going to be fired, and I think he's going to be fired early. We're going to talk about some of the reasons why I think he's going to be fired and why he's going to be fired too sweet, like real quick. They just can't afford to hold on to him with the expectations that they have for this program. So aside from the fact that he's averaging about 4 losses a year, he's also averaging about 7th in recruiting every year. Now, 7th in the country, which is pretty high. Unfortunately, he's in the SEC, so that means he's got to recruit against Georgia and Alabama and LSU and Florida and Tennessee. So you can be 7th in the country and still be like 4th in the SEC. So you're not over time going to be keeping a competitive advantage over the other teams in your conference. Now, mind you, the blue chip ratio this year, for those of you who don't know, 247 does something they call the blue chip ratio, which means the percentage of the players on your team that are 4 or 5 star players, like some of the top players from their class on your team, and the accumulation of that talent year over year. So they're at 73% 4 or 5 star players, and that puts them 4th in the country, 73. Unfortunately, Alabama is in their conference, and Alabama's at 90. So that just goes to show you right there that you can be great in recruiting by all other standards except the fact that you play in the SEC. So you recruiting well. One year they literally broke the bank and spent like $25 million on one class, the word was. They were number 1 in recruiting in 2021. 2022. They were number 1 in recruiting in the class in 2022, and they had 8 5-star recruits. There are only 32 5-star recruits in the country in any given year. So for you to get 8 of them is pretty disgusting. So it's just giving you an amazing competitive advantage over everybody except for a handful of players, a handful of teams. Pardon me. He is paid $9 million a year. That is a lot of money. He is the 10th highest college coach. He was the highest, I believe, at the time he was actually hired. Over time, other coaches have gotten raises. Other coaches have been hired. So that's going to have an effect. The big thing is he's got an $80 million buyout, and that actually doesn't go down. It's not prorated. So most teams, when you get a buyout, the buyout's really high when you first get hired, and as you get toward the end of your contract running out, the buyout gets lower and lower to make it cheaper for the team that has you to buy you out if things just aren't going well. Not Jimbo Fisher. Whoever his agent is, a lot of these college coaches have the same agent, so they start putting these things in the contracts to protect the coach's well-being. Like, even if I'm not doing well, I want the most golden of golden parachutes to make sure for my financial security. Because you're a college coach, you're either Nick Saban or Kirby Smart, or your chances are you're going to get fired. Everybody gets fired in this game. So he's getting paid a lot of money, but believe me, Texas A&M has really deep pockets. It's one of the largest colleges in the country. It's one of the biggest alumni bases in the country. It's one of the biggest alumni funds. And we talked about fundraising in the country. They pulled in $193 million last year as an athletic program. And I'm not sure how much of that is donations, ticket prices, what have you. But for the department itself, it was $193 million in 2022. That is insane. If they want, there's oil money down there, if they want to pay that $80 million, if they feel like they have a good enough coach lined up to take his place, they will pay that $80 million, and they will pay it pretty early in order to get him out of there. So, for some of the other reasons why I think he's going to be let go early, number one of the like kiss of death things when it comes to college coaching, coaching of any kind, but specifically whatever the thing is that you do well, if you have to bring in a coordinator or bring in somebody else to run that, you're in trouble. Like the reason why that Jimbo Fisher's brought in is because of his offense. He's supposed to be some kind of offensive guru and play caller. And then you bring in Bobby Petrino to run the offense and call plays. But that's your job. The reason you were brought there is because of your offense. So if I got to bring in somebody else to do the thing that you're supposed to do really well, what do I need you for? Like, the thing we brought you in here for, you are failing at. I got to go bring somebody else in to do that. You're not as necessary anymore. I don't understand why I'm paying him to do the thing I hired you to do. So, if you got to bring in Petrino to fix the side of the ball that you're supposed to be an expert on, that's not good. Also, just competition in general. So you're already in the SEC West, which is known as being the toughest division in college sports. You got to play LSU, you got to play Bama, you got to play Auburn, and honestly, everybody can give you a good game. If you don't have depth and you can't play hard and execute week in and week out in the SEC, you're clapped. There's just no chance of you having any long-term success if you can't compete at a high level. You can recruit at a high level, but obviously you can't play at the highest level in the SEC. And one of the big things I think is the big pressure that I think is that Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly came into LSU, had a bunch of coaches leave, of course, had a bunch of players transfer out. He cobbled together a staff, and in year one, they were able to beat Alabama and win the West. That in year one, LSU, from my perspective, LSU was the best job in college football. The last three coaches have won national championships, and two of them can't get a high school football job right now. So Brian Kelly is a smart guy that is very organized. LSU recruits itself. The state of Louisiana is packed with talent, and he beat Alabama in year one and won the West in year one. And Jimbo Fisher's been at Texas A&M for 5 years and hasn't won the West. Like, dog, what are we paying you for? LSU got a dude, and in year one, he did what you couldn't do. He said, well, I beat Bama this year. Like, yeah, so did they. And they won the West, and you didn't. Like, bro, like, you've been here for a long time. You've been giving you a lot of money. You've given a lot of money for NIL to bring kids in. You've had great recruiting classes. Dude comes in from Notre Dame, and in year one, he beats the master? What are we paying you for? I really got to ask and be serious at this point. Like, somebody came in year one and did what you were not able to do in 5 years. I'm looking at you funny. It is what it is. So, like, and then by the way, Texas, your rival, your in-state rival, is coming to the SEC next year. They're playing Bama this year. If Texas beats Bama this year, Texas A&M beating Bama last year is no longer special. Texas is the bigger brand already, and them coming into the SEC, they're gonna steal your thunder. And on a smaller note, you got Texas A&M, Texas Tech is getting really good, and you got Houston is now also joining a Power 5 conference. Recruiting is going to get much, much harder, and with you falling off offensively, it's like we got to let you go. Not only are they going to have to fire him, they're going to have to fire him relatively early. And there's three main reasons for that. Number one, you have to get a new coach lined up really quickly. So I need to get the search going for the new coach, get a new coach in place so that for two reasons. Number one, you can meet the early signing period. Um, with the early signing period in December, most of the really good recruits are gone by the beginning of January. So if you wait until the season is over to see whether you made a bowl game, to pull the plug on the coach and start a coaching search, a lot of those kids will pull out. If your team's not doing very well at that point, your recruiting might be in a tank to begin with. So if no, by the time November comes around, they're mid-November. They have 2 losses already. They're out of the national championship race. Just fire them. Just fire them. Bring an interim coach in. Start the new coaching search. And if you can get somebody in before December, before that early signing date, you can salvage a recruiting class for that first year. That's going to be really difficult. And also, you have a pretty deep roster. You want to be able to keep the kids that you've got and stop those kids from going into the portal. When the team's going bad nowadays, and believe me, and like you see at Texas A&M, them kids are not particularly tightly tied to that program. They've had a lot of transfers over the last couple of years. Some very talented players have just up and walked out the door. So they're not, they're as far as I'm concerned, they're in it for the fame and the money. The facilities are really great there. The school's huge. Girls are pretty. NIL's tight. It's like, so all these good things going on, but it's like, the kids that decide to go to A&M, they don't seem to be going there for the right reasons. They start losing, and looks like that coach is going to get fired. Them dudes are going out. The kids are not going to play in the bowl game. They're going to be looking to leave. So when he gets fired, and I'm saying it's going to be pretty quickly, who are the main candidates to take that position? I think Garrett Riley, if he does really well as the OC at Clemson this year, if he turns that around, his brother is over at USC. He's the brother of Lincoln Riley. I think he's a serious candidate. Todd Monken, the OC at Georgia, get a hold of some of that talent they've got going on there. If they three-peat, Todd Monken's going to be a hot name, and that's going to be. I can see that definitely being in play. Even though he's coaching for a national championship, I can see them going like, "Hey, can we talk to him because we want to get him right now." Jeff Traylor got somebody that I'm a big fan on. What he's done at UTSA. He's like, is that a huge program? No, but he's had amazing success at a program that hasn't even existed for very long at University of Texas San Antonio. And the main one I'm thinking they're going to go after is Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's like the boogeyman. He's out there. I think he's throwing feelers out there in the media that if a good enough job opened, he would take it. I think he's going to want a lot of money. I think he's going to come in and say, I've won 3 national championships. I want 15 mil. I want 20 mil. And I think Texas A&M is so tired of being second fiddle to Texas and not winning championships and all the money that they put into that program and to not win championships. I think they'll pay it. Honestly, I think they're so desperate with Texas going into the SEC and all that. I think they'll pay whatever he wants. And to be honest with you, look, Urban Meyer's not the nicest guy in the world, but he is an incredible coach. He is an incredible recruiter. He will put together an amazing staff. He will make Texas A&M nationally relevant, and I think he'll do it relatively quickly. So I think it's only a matter of time. I think my guys over at Medicine Sports, shout out to Zach and I can't remember the other guy's name. I don't think there's any way that Urban Meyer's chapter of his book of coaching football is going to be over getting fired by Jacksonville in like year 1 or year 2. I don't think there's any way that's going to happen. He's a great college football coach, no matter what you might think of him as a person or what you think of him. He's won 2 national titles in Florida in the SEC and won another national championship at Ohio State. I think it's a good bet that's going to be that Jimbo Fisher is going to be fired and that Urban Meyer is going to be his replacement at Texas A&M. That's my time. Deuces.